So we're very, very happy to help you. Ooh, hello, in any way we can. Let me mute. Okay, there we go. Okay. So yeah, so basically
what we did was we sent out that Q&A.
And so we'll go over some of the questions. But
At any point, if you all have questions, like I said, we're just going to keep it cash. Just let me know, let us know. But I wanted to go over a few things first. First of all, I'll send this to Logan and he can share it out with everybody. But if you have a laptop now and you want to access it, there's a bit.ly, a little short link for it. So if you open your browser and type that into the browser, all lowercase, you can access it now. But you don't need to if you don't want to. I'll just just kidding.
Oh no, that was way too fast.
But the reason that I created this is so that, you know, if we're showing things today and, you know, we're kind of walking through things very quickly, it's procedural instructions or technical instructions. A lot of the time I'll see that in a webinar or in a live event. It looks all very intuitive, and then I get home and I'm like, what? Where did she click? Like, what? Where do I go? What did I do? And so this has something that you can reference in their tutorials throughout it too. So hopefully that'll come in handy. This is a link to our AO at Kapiolani site, the development page. And there's a ton of resources, information on here. So we just linked out that. This is like essentially almost all Lamaku at this point. There's a lot of stuff about Lamaku. So this is a great kind of resource to reference. So we just put the link there. But I thought off with talking about the different types of Lamaku sites. So the first site is called a reference site, and that's what you get if you migrate content from Lamaku. So how many migrating content? No. Okay, great. And Trio will too, probably. Yeah.
I put it.
Okay. Not yet, right?
Yeah, in January.
Right. So those will start in January. If it's a non-instructional site, they'll begin with those in January. But when they do, you'll fill out that form. They'll create what's called a reference site. And you'll see the name of your course. It will say converted, and then the name of whatever your Lalima site was. And that is just really to kind of like let you preview what things look like when they bring stuff over from Lalima into Lamaku. I know some faculty have been a little iffy about like, do I want to migrate my stuff? I've heard bad things, it looks pretty ugly. You know, sometimes it looks great. Actually, a lot of the time it looks great. Sometimes it's a little iffy. Usually you'll want to tweak it in some way once it comes over. But I really want to emphasize that this is like a no stakes situation. Like you have nothing to lose. So if you ask them to migrate your content over and you're like, I don't really want to use this. No big deal. You don't have to. It doesn't go away from Lalima. It doesn't mean you have to put it in your sandbox site or into a live site and use it. It's just sort of like a preview area. So think of it like that. So there won't be any students. You won't ever be able to add students into that. We'll talk about this in impersonating a demo student later. But you'll be able to kind of do a whole lot in there except to kind of just look at your content. The sandbox site is really where all of the work is going to be done. So that's where you're going to construct whatever it is you want to eventually be accessible to your students. So this is like your building area. So if you bring over content to your reference site and you decide, oh, this is looking pretty good. I just want to move all this over to the sandbox. You can do that and then keep working on it. If you think like, I really want my quizzes, but I'd rather just build my lesson pages from scratch or with a template. You can bring over your quizzes. And we'll talk about that later. But that sandbox is where all of the construction is going to happen. It's not where students are going to be, but it is where you'll build. The live course site is where your students will be. So once you're ready and everything looks nice in the sandbox, then I'll show you the process. You'll just pull everything over into that live course site. And now you've got a backup in your sandbox, but your live course site is ready to go. Any questions about that? As far as sandboxes, everybody has one,
but
but you can always request up to 4 more, so everybody can have a total of 5. And I've got a link in there and to the request section too. So in terms of what that looks like in terms of a process, anytime we're talking about migrating content from Lima, Lamaku, that's an ITS thing. We're not able to do that as instructors or even as instructional designers. So we'll fill out that form. They're pretty quick about it. Like usually, a lot of times they say right now, depending on the traffic. But they'll move that over into that Lamaku reference site. And then again, you can decide, do you want to keep anything with it, some of it, none of it, whatever you might want to work with, we'll pull it over into Lamaku Sandbox. There's also the Lamaku course framework for Kapiolani that we built. And that is, I'll show that in a little bit. That's just kind of this suite of 3 different options that you can pull into your sandbox that will give you structure in your site. It looks like it's Kapiolani, it's got like our branding, and it organizes your site in a way that kind of gives you structure and it makes it easy to navigate, and then you can plug your content into that. So again, that is totally optional. If you want to pull one of those in, you can pull that in, and once it's ready, then we'll copy it over into that Lamaku site. Any questions about that? You guys are such an easy audience. Okay, so I'm gonna go through the question and answers. But like I said, feel free to let me know, especially like counselors, like if you're like, hey, none of us care about this particular question. Please don't let me drone on. Like I'm happy for you to like, nah, this doesn't apply to us. I tried to think about like, oh, what will my counselor colleagues want to know? But I might have gotten it wrong, and I'm okay if you just say no, we don't care. And also let me know if I'm missing something big. The most frequently asked, or at least the one we get most passionately, is how do I stop the incessant and constant emails from Lamaku? They're telling me I have quizzes to take. They're telling me that they're updating me every time anything happens to Lamaku. If you're logged in right now, you can head over to Lamaku, and I'll show you how to do this. But if you're not, that's okay. I have a link to a really quick tutorial here that you can reference later. So if you log into Lamaku, all you'll have to do is come up here to your profile and go to notifications. And right now, I would recommend just turning everything off. There is this sneaky little drop down. So if you untick all of these boxes, there is still this drop down. So make sure you set this to never if right now you don't want any notifications. Once the semester starts, if you've got students in, some of your course sites or your orientation sites, you might want to choose to have either a weekly or a daily kind of digest of what's happened in Lamaku sent to you. And then you can specify what kinds of things you want notifications for. So you probably, you're getting these content updates every time something gets updated in that instructor essentials course that everyone was automatically enrolled in. You're getting those, you're getting lots of things. So if you want to untick all of those, you can just click on save. And that will shut it down for now. We'll shut down all that email traffic. But then anytime you want to change that, you can just come back up here and go to notifications again and reset those settings.
Is that for like each site?
That's for the whole shebang. Yeah. So all things from Lamaku. I will say, has anybody downloaded the app yet? There's an app. It's probably not helpful for developing it, or at least not for me. I have to use my whole computer. I'm not good enough to develop on a phone. I'm sure some of our students are. But it's really helpful to see what your content looks like for students who will probably be using mobile devices. But I will say that if you download the app, it's called Pulse. You can search for it. If you download that, those notifications are handled separately. So even though you shut it down here, you'll have to go into your app settings and tell it, like, please stop sending me these notifications. But yeah, it's super helpful to kind of preview the content in the app.
If we just turn off that assignments, content until we actually do stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe we just keep announcements and activities.
I mean, you can do whatever you like. So really, I think a lot of what you're getting is the stuff from that instructor essentials course. If you want to leave the announcements on, you could do that. I'm just shut it. It's not important. We're not sending you anything important. We're getting to you via email or the news bulletin, so it's not coming from us, but yeah. I know I've had even like staff, like secretaries, they're like, do I have to take this quiz in Lamaku? Like they keep emailing me and telling I'm like, no, let me show you how to stop that. So that's there. And again, there's a tutorial right here in case you need to do that later. One of the more recent questions we got were questions about the November 14th email that came out from Della. So I'm not sure if that pertains to any of you. Does anybody here have more than 2 course preps? No. Okay, you're good. Does anybody have any questions about that email? I guess what I want the counselors to know is that the implications for the students are that now instead of all of their CC classes being offered in one learning management system, there is the potential that they will be having to navigate 2 different LMSs. And so if they're a returning student, hopefully they already know how to use Lalima and they're learning just one more. But if they're a new student, you can imagine that would perhaps be a challenge. So there's a chance that they could will only be one semester. It was
depending on the course or the instructor,
right? Yeah, they might end up in a situation where they just have to end up in all Lamaku courses, which would be great. But if some of the classes they're taking, if that instructor has decided they want to continue to operate in Lalima just for spring, then they could end up in a situation where they have 2 different LMSs that they're navigating. Yeah, which is being recorded, so I won't weigh in honestly, but I'm sure you can. What I That's a really good question because we've been working with people and our message has been like, get started now, you know. And I think there are a decent number of faculty who are thinking like, well, because they didn't take it off the table. They said you have to prep at least 2 of your course preps in Lamaku. If you don't want to do any more than that, or maybe you want to prep 3, but you just can't get to number 4 or number 5, you know, that's up to you. I think there is a good amount of faculty who either only have 2 courses, they have 5 courses, but they only have 2 course preps, or who are just thinking, I don't want to do this dance either. I'm just going to go ahead and, you know, keep on keeping on and everything in Lamaku. But there are some who will, you know, choose to go ahead and keep some of their stuff in Lalima. I can't tell you the percentage. I really couldn't even guess.
All of the department meetings we have been attending recently, I would say more than 50%. Yeah, our
and a lot of people have already migrated their stuff over. But once they migrate it, they see it and they think like, this doesn't look so bad, you know, like I can deal with this. So it just depends. I don't know. It's a philosophical thing too. For me, I was talking to my husband who teaches at Mama, and I was like, I think most people will just like have to use Lamaku anyway. Like you could just use it all. And he's like, oh, I wouldn't. He's like, I would just leave everything on Lima that I possibly could. He's like, how will they know? And they are checking. You have to do at least 2 in Lamaku. So there's a whole range of, you know, like approaches or thinking about that. So it just depends. So there definitely will be some courses in Lima. I can tell you, like what percentage. It will be interesting. I'm gonna see if we get the numbers once because they have to decide prior to November 30th. They have to submit that form. So at that point, it would be really helpful for us to kind of know, like for our counselors or anybody supporting students, you know, what percentage might be navigating to different management systems. Yeah.
After semester, it's going to be 0.
Yes. And for real. Unless it's like this semester where they say real, and they're like, no, I really don't think that it will happen again. But, yeah, so we'll see, but it should be off the table at that point. Oh, and then I thought, well, surely our counselors want to know what kind of student support resources exist. There is this website. And I believe that there are some video tutorials that are being created for students as well. So students can come in here, there's information and tutorials on like how to navigate Lamaku, you know, how to submit assignments, participate in discussions, that sort of thing. There's information here about the Pulse app, which is that app that they can use for their mobile devices. And if you all want to check that out and download it, you can do that here too. And then always we have the UHITS help desk for students for any kind of technical support. So they have been trained as well and continue to keep learning about Lamaku and will be ready to support students there. And they're staff 27, 365. So it's like New Year's Eve at 11 p.m., you know, and they call in, they'll say, Happy New Year, how can we help you? So they are really available a lot for students. And then Chris Altair, who's our awesome student online success counselor. I don't know if you all know about like the SOUL module, the student success in online learning. So she is creating a new module that will be replacing that, and it will have more information about Lamaku because it would have a lot about Lalima. That is an awesome module. It's not ready. It won't be ready for the beginning of spring, but it is hoping to pilot it in later this semester, later spring semester. Sorry. So that will be around 2. And then we always encourage people also when they're courses to do just a really quick, simple video, show students how to navigate their course, like where to get started in each course site. But I will say with Lamaku, there's a lot more consistency than there was in Lalima. So, you know, when we look at the tools all across the top here, this main navigation bar, faculty are no longer able to kind of change these or rename them. We can't even rearrange them. The most we can do is we can turn them off if we're not using them. And so just in case any of you all have course sites that you might want to turn the tools off, you can go to course admin. And then down at the bottom here under tools, you'll see a whole list of tools that you can turn on and off. So let's say I'm not using quizzes. I can turn that off, and then you can see it up here. When I refresh this page, my quizzes will go away. So that's the most control we have, which means for the most part, they'll have a pretty consistent situation when it comes to navigating. It does say that you can rename the tools, but it's a lie. So you can see this little pop-up here. So Brightspace itself has that capability, but UH has decided, no, we're all going to keep the tool names the same. And that is really to kind of help make those course experiences more consistent for students, so they don't have to decode, you know, what you're calling your quizzes in each different class or discussions or that sort of thing. And then again, the structure is very similar too. So they'll all have modules, and it's just, I have to say, it's just a little more, no, it's not a little more, it's a lot more intuitive than Lalima. So, I would imagine that they will have a much easier experience figuring out how to use the system, but yeah, totally. Oh, yeah.
Go back to that navigation bar right now, Jamie, for her instructor, she will be able to see those content and like eval. And then if she's over to the student view, students will see content as the first. Yeah, on their end. So that's just like the difference between the instructor role versus student role.
Yeah.
And everyone can, you know, have that student role in one on one too. Kind of like get a sense of the student view.
Yeah. And we'll go through that too, the different ways that you can look at it from a student. So then, yeah, I said, you know, how can I use Lamaku for training or orientation purposes? So right now, they're really focusing on the instructional sites, so the courses that have CRNs. In January, they're going to start taking care of like any of the migration requests for the non-course CRN based sites. But you can request a departmental site in Lamaku if you're interested. That's really similar to the collaborative collaboration sites that we had in La Lima. So those are really good for things like orientations or training or professional development. And then also the system is going to have the option to make your courses discoverable. If you have something where you're thinking like, oh, this is our first year student orientation site. So we don't really want to go through and like manually add one by one every single student. We just want to put it out there and then tell them how to get to it, and then they can kind of self-enroll or access it. That will be an option. They don't have the protocol worked out for it just yet, but it's coming. It's okay. We're very casual. It's okay. It's not a formal meeting. And there's
You know what I said? It's not public, right? Or like
It
it's not the login.
Yes.
Using their username.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it'll be only visible within the Lamaku system. So they'll have to log in, and then everyone in Lamaku can see it, yeah.
The photo could be under the Discover tab, and then you see courses available.
Under, oops,
yeah.
oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, there we go.
Browse.
And then you can go, let's see, oh, there we go.
So we restrict students getting into the site or certain sites or.
You can have it not be discoverable.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always the option. This is only, and you might even, depending on the protocol that you're together, you might have to get like administrative approval to make it discoverable. It's only discoverable if you kind of tell them like, oh, we need anybody to be able to get into the site. It's just know that's an option coming if you want. Otherwise your site and then whoever it is you need to add in. Yeah. Yep.
I did have a question about how, hosting publicly accessible files, and then also for archiving. So you used to let us put things into that home folder and then kind of share them with people who didn't even have access to La Lima. It was just, you could send them a link and anybody on the internet, kind of like Google, like anyone with the link view. We don't have that capability with Lamaku. And also they're very, very clear that they don't want us to use Lamaku for archiving only. So if you have anything where you were storing records or, it was like your unit wanted to put stuff in there to save, the best thing you do is to kind of migrate that stuff to Drive. We do now have limitations or quotas on our data in Google too. So you might want to request a departmental Google account, and I put a link there if you don't have one, just so that you're not, having files count against your personal quota. Yeah. I think it's the same as everyone else, but at least like it's offloading it to that departmental one. Yeah. Yep. And then if you have sensitive data, that'll to an enterprise Dropbox account instead of.
Department can have more than one for capacity issues.
I don't believe so. But like you might be able to, like for example, you might be able to say like, instead of we call them department, but it can be like, so if it's like fire camp center, one, it doesn't have to be like counseling one. Just think about breaking files. You can probably get crafty. Yeah.
Dropbox is only available to individuals, not for department.
Right. Yeah. And then in terms of migrating content from La Lima to Two, I just the link there. Anybody now at this point can in the UHCCs can migrate anything that is for spring. And so we talked about before you came in. Right now they're organizing all the instructional sites that have CRNs, but in January they'll start working on anything else like orientation, professional development, sort of thing. And migrating that stuff over. But what we can't do is migrate that is after spring. So you're looking and you're thinking, we've got this orientation site that we'll use in the fall. There'll be another migration process, but they won't migrate it back now.
I don't know when that migration time period could be beginning of summer.
That's a good question.
Because it's including summer stuff that we need to.
Oh, yes, if you have summer stuff, you'll have time in the spring to migrate it, yeah. But for the fall stuff, it will probably, my guess is it will be happening. Probably, but it might happen late spring.
Migration.
No,
Like we're starting a new site every.
Right.
Every anniversary or whatever.
So it'll be, think of it with La Lima. Every semester, including summer, when you have, things that you're gonna offer, they'll just auto-generate those sites in Lamaku, like they did before. So the CRA gets posted in Banner, they generate that site, or you request the site if you're like, hey, I've got an orientation, I need this site now. But the migration is anytime you want something from La Lima to come over. If, let's say you offer.
Like I have a relationship that I use all the time for
Right.
students. All. Yeah, I mean, I use the same say, I just take all the students out.
Right.
So am I gonna have to time semester come, or you know what I
I
mean?
need to get clarification on that, because they haven't been super yet, and I
still
really think that it's a super easy process. I'll show it to you, you go into your site and you say, I want to hop business from this site to this site, and it brings it over. And you don't have to clear students out of that old site and, that sort of thing. But I'm not sure, I don't know how long for those types of sites, they're gonna let that go. If they'll put that one on the cycle by request. I can check into that.
Do students, sorry.
Sorry.
Students get white out from that old site?
No, I think so. They have access.
Always.
So students will lose access.
I think it's 21 days. Let me see if I put it in here. Yeah, 21 days after the site.
So everybody can get access 5 days before your start date. And, like with Lima, they would open up all the courses. With Lamaku, we don't have the ability to like close the course again and keep working. But what we can do is we can hide the modules, like the content in there. And the reason for that was given is that, we had a lot of, well, there were a few, but one of the main ones that we had a lot of confusion with students when they would do that with Lamaku. The floodgates would open, everybody has access, and then people would close them working. It's not started the semester yet. And then some students would panic, like, oh, I don't have a course, or I did see it, now it's gone, like, have I unenrolled a little bit, and some, they saw some of their courses, not all of their courses. And so now everyone will see their course and get into their course, but then you can hide anything that you don't want them to have access to yet. Yeah.
And instructors or all of us who have the option to have it before it gets published.
Yes.
When it gets
So
published.
you don't have to scramble and hide everything.
We did it already.
Yes. Yeah, so and like with all of your modules, you can and just like you can set them to open up at a certain time. So if there's somebody who wants to just automate that so that you don't have to think about it, you can set that up and you can just set it so that nothing is open until the first day of the semester or whenever you want it to. You can also manually hide things, so if you want to just hide it all like I'll let and then you just have to remember to go in and unhide it. Yeah.
I have two questions. One is, so I've heard kind of like a reference site, and then sandbox.
Yes.
Whatever already mentioned.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay.
So again,
Mhm.
this is because in student affairs, we actually teach IS courses.
Mhm.
And we have, like the, what do you call it, like the parent class where we, ask stuff, have it ready. Then, like the CRN cycle stuff,
Right.
put stuff in there.
Right.
So is that the reference site?
That's the sandbox. That's like your site.
Oh.
Yeah. Site is what comes over When you say, oh, I want to migrate this content from Malima, they put it into a reference site, and that's just kind of like, this is just a free site. So you can look at it and decide, like, do I want to use this? Do I want to use all of it, or none of it? And then you pull whatever you want, if you want anything, there's no obligation, into your sandbox site, and then develop everything there. And then, like you said, when you're ready to put it in that site where students are, then you put that there.
References, just like raw stuff that came from.
Yeah. Like, sort of like a preview. Yeah.
Sorry, you see 5 days before the semester starts, it comes live. You know the option, not do for 5 days?
No.
We have an orientation in 3 months.
Sorry. So when, whatever your course is in terms of like being on the term, so like, let's say if you have an 8-week course that starts later in the semester, it'll just be 5 days before when your course starts. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've opened up this like summer or spring, or I'm just trying to, have it live whenever we want.
This is year, nothing to do with.
I think semester, in fact, we don't.
Not tied to.
It's not
Right.
Or like, I never work.
Let me reach out, and then, I'll follow up with you guys.
We have other options. Like for not, honestly, like I can't imagine. Yeah, because we do orientations year round, and I'm doing like two and a months in advance.
Right.
Like to migrate. Sorry, have a reference. Maybe you're doing non-instructional.
Great.
Okay. I already have my reference like for the Lima, with my other orientation. But so I should just create a sandbox for those reference sites, or can I just use whatever they gave me as the live?
Oh, you can't use that as the live site, because you can't add students in that.
Okay.
But let us, are you reaching out now? We can email.
I'm taking notes.
Oh, okay. We can email, and check on those, because it's not just so like it's your thing. Like there's other campuses will have situations too, where they will have, ongoing things that they need to be added to, that they can take out and put in, that don't on the semester. So let us into that, and we'll get you hopefully better.
Like non-instructional.
Like right.
Maybe make it optional.
Yeah, and really, if you are creating a site that's not CRN-based site, I mean, even if it's a professional development site, we can, it doesn't make sense to align it with the term.
So the departmental sites also have to.
That's the thing. They haven't given us a timeline in terms of like if they're going to expire or anything. So we'll check on that. There haven't been clear details about those.
What I heard, and maybe you can confirm this, is that departments are actually being highly discouraged from using Lamaku as their department site, that it's truly intended as a learning management system. But to that point, it's not only our in sections that are learning, like all the workshops that we do, our curriculum, right? As non-instructional faculty, just happens to have separate.
Right.
We should absolutely do those as a.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what you get the departmental site.
Maybe not the department.
Yeah, they have departmental sites, get a departmental account and have those sites for things like rotation or training or workshops or things like that. We need to check on the timeline, like how they go live or and to be refreshed or anything like that. We'll check on that. But you can definitely do that. It's not only CRN sites that happen. It's just that some departments or even like Senate committees, they were just storing records in there, and storage is at a premium, and so they're wanting us to like put that in Google Dropbox or something else. Yeah.
Sorry, kind of a tangent question. As far as like large quantities of files, that need to be kept somewhere. So if Dropbox is only for individual, and Dropbox has pretty capacity, but still it has to be individual, right? For each. And then Google has more maybe security issues as far as, you know, being able to keep documents securely. I mean, something, what's a good example? Say like DSSO files, you know, that are highly confidential, or like syllabi from like 30 years ago, you know, where there's like ridiculous amounts of things. Like how would departments or programs store all of that stuff? Because I feel like Dropbox or Google would have worked in that.
Yeah, I would say, so if it's not, you know, like PII, it's not sensitive data, I think Google, and then beyond that, I mean, Google, you do get an enormous amount of storage. It's not gonna help if you're storing like tons of video footage or anything, but if you're just storing a lot of, you know, like Google Docs or things like that, it's too bad. But I would say, if it's, if it's just a really large amount of data, it's probably gonna be something we need to come up with a plan. Or, you know, have syllabi from 30 years ago. I'm not sure the system would say that. Yeah.
Students, because, you know, they might be graduate schools, scholarships, they need access to syllabi.
Yeah.
I don't know what the, you know, national standard is, but I mean, that's literally, I mean, even like Sheldon had to clean out his book because he's hit max. Because I mean, he's been here 20-something years, right? So I mean, Google has a lot, not really, considering the amount of information that were.
I know departments can purchase additional storage, so that might end up being the option. In terms of instructional design, did you I'm just like help people design their classes. So, but I do Carl Knight to even if he doesn't, I don't know if he is into that, but he more about like the storage purchase option for each unit. But yeah. Oh no, that's okay. Yeah, I wish I had better information for you as well.
I think I have a question about the 21-day expiration. So and this is say an instructor at a CRN gives the student an incomplete.
Right.
So is the 21 days because there was another
Right. So there is, if the student is incomplete, there will be a process where that student can be turned into business manager. There's so many roles in Lamaku, but it's basically sort of like an incomplete student status, and they'll still be able to finish out doing their work and stuff. Yeah.
So, sorry to tag along that. So incomplete, a lot of times, you know, I guess the date where the incomplete status ends is flexible or fluid rather, because it depends, you know, there's not like a standard for the instructional faculty to say, you know, your incomplete by this date.
Right.
It's kind of all over the place. Even to the extent that, you know, there's technically a deadline for say like spring 2024 incompletes. Instructors actually are still, they can still let students complete this semester. So I'm curious as to how like faculty would have to like input the date maybe or something, because I don't see when the 21-day starts.
So
they could extend, right?
Yes. And so the instructors won't lose access to their courses in 21 days. They'll it's just that all the students not be seeing that course. So then when they track that incomplete student status, they'll be able to access.
As long as it's
Yes. Yeah. I can't remember the exact name of the role, but it's essentially like a student status, and then they'll be able to keep getting and seeing it just like you. Yeah, and then oh sorry. Oh good, incomplete. Okay, great.
We can show on the screen.
Let me see. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna. So if I go into my class list, I can see. So this is
So
how.
this is how, yeah, if I go to add participants, I can add an existing user
And I
and I can put in their name.
And then
And
these
then these are all of the roles that I'm able to add someone in.
So if we actually, if we have our, like our student orientation
Mhm.
type of website, we just do that, make one of the users income or like an income status and have that.
I mean, that would be a way to get around it, but I think they will have like an easier and better way for you. Because you, like I said, you guys aren't the only ones doing this. Like we need a systematic way, not a hack. Yeah.
Yeah. It never comes up.
I think you erased them from the recording.
For collaborators.
Yeah.
As you know.
Yeah. Like an instructor.
Yeah. And that information is on, it was one of the questions that we were gonna cover, so that info is in like the tutorial.
I'm just gonna say, for those who don't use it for CRN or classes, like I want my students to access it all the time, because we use it as a resource, like I send out our newsletters out.
Right.
Scholarship update, you know, so it's like, we wanna have a open, for them to access it for as long as they. Right now they opt out. People like,
Oh,
they
right,
they just opt out of not receiving things. But or sometimes they'll tell me, take me off, I'll do it better. But oftentimes they opt out of receiving our notifications.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just thinking that'll be the case for those of us who are non-CRN.
Right.
Repositories of it.
Yeah. Just don't use the word repository.
When you
talk about how you're like this is how you communicate with students, you have events. Yes.
Sorry.
No. I don't care, but I'm just trying to set you up for success, like so you don't get a no.
It's not just used as a, like, it's an archival.
Right.
Right.
It's through communication and then, yeah.
But I mean, it really is SLOs, that's our.
Right.
That's the way we make our SLOs is through those workshops. and
Right.
things.
Yeah. Right.
Sorry, kind of related question, what I was to say too. So I guess hypothetically, if these sites could be like exempt from, closing out. Whatnot. And I could see the only potential issues would be the accumulation of students.
Right.
One or more students.
Yeah.
Added to one course. So then, I mean, kind of how you said with the opt out, like ideally say, after a certain period of time, students are messaged to say, you still have access to the site, you want us to stay in it. Or, there's like an easy way to say, like, how you're saying you just removed the old ones. If there's a way to just say, at this point in time, I'm gonna clear out all the students who have been in there and then add new ones.
Well, after the break, after this semester starts, like we are figure it out. That's why I was trying to water resource, like an archival site.
Yeah.
Well, it moves to another graduate.
Yeah. And once students are no longer UH students, like graduated out of the system, they won't have access to Lamaku anyway. But yeah, for things where you're like, oh, it's really just a first orientation, we don't want to keep make them around this side or something. Yeah.
Well, after so many semester, after the semester, you're
Right.
How do we read this?
Yeah.
We're saying it's basically, even it's developmental in your case, so you have the other students, you want to put them into the orientation site, but then a certain, you want those same students now be in a different site, for the parent.
Oh, no. It's just for orientation. Students. And then once they're in, have their own citizen.
Okay, so that's
It's just more in tree.
If I had to guess, I don't think they're gonna let, just because they're of this storage limitations, I don't think they're going to just say, oh, for certain sites, they'll never come down. I think they'll probably at least have some sort of turnover point where they say, okay, it's time to create a new one, but then you just copy it on over and it's easy, and then they'll load the proper student in. That's just my guess. But we'll check with them. Yeah, just because, you know, like you said, even as you just update content, like it starts to get bigger and bigger in terms of data, and they'll want to eventually kind of have a point where we start fresh and just bring over what you need. Yeah.
Well, people didn't have the same challenges.
So Lalima is like, I've never seen a situation. So I worked at 2 universities, one in this country and one in another. I've never heard of or seen a situation where an institution just like let people have as many sites as they wanted and then kept all of it forever. So like that was like, I don't know how that happened, but it's not normal. So like first of all, it's actually like a big liability, but and also it's just like the storage, expense and everything. It's nuts out. So they're creating a policy, like a data retention policy, and it got a draft of it right now. They worked with data governance, the system did, and it's gonna go out for approval and everything. But once that's implemented, it will be kind of the same at, you know, all other institutions of higher ed, where it'll probably be around like 5 to 7 years of data retention. So it will keep data for X amount of time, 5 to 7 years, and then after that it will get deleted. So like Lima itself, January 1st of 2026, it will turn into an archive in the sense that no one will be teaching classes, like no new courses will be created anymore. But we still all have our course content there. And then at that point, they'll implement whatever the policy says. So if it says, you know, we'll keep data for 7 years, anything older than 7 years old in Lima will go away. And then if it's, you know, 7 years old, you'll get it for 1 more year, and then it goes away. 6 years old, 2 more years, and it goes away until eventually, you know, 7 years. If it is 7 years down the line, all the Lama content will be gone. And the same thing will happen with Lamaku. So if we say it's 5 years, we'll have our course stuff for 5 years, and then eventually it'll just keep getting deleted. Yeah.
Sorry, just to make sure I understand. Dallas, I saw the date July 31st though. As far as like July 31st, 2025, like access to Lima, like something.
We just need to send a message out to campus because you know it caused a lot of confusion. You are not alone.
So I wasn't sure.
You can't see, but there's facial expression happening. Yeah. So yes, these are very good questions, and there are questions that lots of people have. So let me try to break down those emails. So basically, Della's email is saying if you have to, everybody at the CCs has to prep at least 2 course preps in Lamaku. If you have more than that, you can either prep in Lamaku or you can prep them in Lima, however you want to divide that up. If you are going to go ahead and prep everything in Lamaku, just keep going. No action needed. If you decide there are some courses or a course that you want to continue to use Lima for, you have to submit that form by November 30th. And if you're changing your mind after that, you just have to submit it and let them know, you know, these are the courses that I'm prepping in Lamaku, and this is my line. Let me see the July thing. You have the July thing? I think the July thing was just basically when we all stopped getting sites in Lima, right? There we go. Okay, yeah. So for fall 25 courses, everything will be transitioned to Lamaku by July 31st. Yeah. So basically, yes. Okay. Sorry. I just want to make sure I'm telling you right, because we don't need misinformation on top of confusion. So basically, it's just saying this is an option only for spring, and by summer, we're all in Lamaku. So no one has access to anything. It's just that you no longer be getting like course sites generated. So this time we'll do some course sites for you in Lima if you want, after those first two credits are done. But after that, no more. But you'll still have access to Lima. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, gosh, that.
And I think things are better than
No. So one real quick question. So anything else that you want to share with the rest of the group as far as the recording is concerned? We can have additional questions after. But, if we just do, I mean, we have about 5 more minutes until.
Yeah.
And then we have a half an hour of questions. But
Oh,
if
okay,
there's
yeah.
anything else for the large.
Yeah, we are just mixing up this format all over the place, aren't we? Sorry.
Well, we're good.
So I did want to show, some people had asked about templates. So the course framework, the Kapiolani course framework is what we have. In terms of if you want, and again, this is another like no obligation kind of thing where you can click the link in the document and ask for access to the course framework, and then take a look around. If you don't want to use it, no problem. But it's got instructions in here for everything, and it has 3 different kind of structural approaches. So there is a framework with the system. But they kind of like a one-size-fits-all. And so what we tried to do here was, some people are teaching face-to-face, some people are online, and everything in between. We created 3 different options. So this goes through and it talks about the affordances and constraints of each of these approaches. But I think one of the most helpful things is that you can click on this, see it for yourself. And you can access a course site that has been developed using the course framework, and see what it actually looks like as a student. And so you can navigate those and sort of shop around. And then once you decide like, oh yeah, I like this format, there are instructions for you to just really, really simply, just download a file, and there's a video tutorial, but then there's also, text and images. Download one of these files, it tells you how to upload it, and then it unpacks in your course site. And then you have a framework for your course where you've got all these, again, like Kapiolani branded modules. It's organized things for you, and there's placeholders for content. There's templates. There's even, Canva templates for the banners. So if you want to customize them and make them look however you want it to look, it kind of just sets up a structure and a vibe for you. And then you can make that your own. So that's totally optional, like I said, but I just wanted people to know that it's there, and it kind of makes it a little more approachable and a little more consistent for students to navigate. There is a Lamaku to La Lima crosswalk for people who are looking to see, what tools they used in La Lima, and then how those equate to other tools in Lamaku. And if you have any questions about any of these, you can click on them and it goes to more information about those. So if you're thinking like, oh, I used to use this tool, what would be the equivalent in Lamaku? That's a good reference for you. I talked through communication options, there's announcements, there's email, and then there's instant message. Probably won't use a lot of instant message, but there's information in there. Oh, that Lamaku Instructor Essentials course has tons of tutorials and kind of walks you through creating your sites. So if anybody has, like just where do I start? That's a really good place to start. And there's a link to that as well. This is information about roles in Lamaku. So when you saw like that, how I added that person, these are all of the different roles, and you can add someone in any of these roles except for 3. You can't add administrators, you can't add system administrators, and you can't add students, meaning like a student who's enrolled in a class that will get a grade. But there are other kind of student options, like that incomplete student or guest or demo student. Non-registered learners are probably good for like the orientation sites where they're not getting a grade, but they're going to be accessing everything as a student in the course site. So there's a lot of different roles, more than we had in La Lima. This is where I just went through showing you how to add someone to your site. Oh, this is a good one. Okay. So we saw before, if I go in here and I click on view a student, this is what we had that was similar to La Lima, right? Like we could go in and we could kind of see what things looked like when it hides the instructor stuff and what the student might see. But there's actually another option too, where we can go a little bit further in exploring things as a student. And this is a situation where we've got like this demo student account. So in La Lima, some people would add themselves with like a personal email address, so they could go in and like actually take the quizzes and generate grades and kind of play with that. So we don't have the ability to do that, but we have this demo student instead. And let me go into a sandbox and show you what that looks like. So from here, I just go to that class list and I add participants. I'm just going to search for demo dot student, and it's going to pull up a whole list of all these demo student accounts. So I'll just select one of those and I'll add them as a demo student and enroll them into this course. So now when I go to my class list, what I can do is I can click the drop down next to this demo student and I can say that I want to impersonate them. So if I click on impersonate, up here, my little profile, it puts this little mask on me. And now I'm running around like demo student number 5. And I can take my quizzes, I can look around. But the other thing I can do is I can come back out here and I can see, oh, William Becker, he also has demo student number 5 in his class. So I could go in there and look around their course site too. So just be aware that if you add the demo student to your site, if anyone else has added them as well, they can impersonate them and then come take a look at your site. They can't edit anything in your site or anything like that, but they can just see it. No, that's super important. Yeah, only faculty and staff have that ability.
Yeah. The other reference can use that.
Yes.
To kind of learn from.
Exactly, yeah. So what you could do, if you don't want it to be kind of like anybody who puts this on can come in, you could just say like, oh, Mickey, I added you as a demo student to my site. Like I added Yo to my sandbox as a demo student so she could play with it. Or if you don't mind, people like Aaron Hanai in Math Sciences, he added one specific demo student accounts and then emailed everyone and said, hey, demo student number 8 is in my course. If you want to put their hat on and wander in and take a look around, like feel free, which was really cool. So yeah, it's a really nice way to kind of share and let people preview too, without having to add like all of the counselors as demo students. Yeah. So if you want to make sure that nobody else can access it once you're done kind of, looking around or generating data, you can just click on this and then say unenroll. Thank you for your services. And you can always put that person, the demo student, back in as well. So, but that's kind of a fun little feature.
That's for the sandbox.
That's for Sandbox or your live site, but not the reference site. Yeah.
Sorry, when you have a reference site and you want to use that for live site.
Yes. So anytime you want to copy, so remember we talked about the migration, this part is ITS, but anything that's importing, like when you import the course framework into your site or copying, like copying the reference material into your sandbox or copying sandbox into your live site, that's all of us can control that. So I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to go into the site, maybe my live site that I want to bring content into. And then I'm going to go to course admin and then import, export, copy components. And this is in the notes too. So don't worry if this is getting, you're like, how am I supposed to remember all this? So this first option is what we're looking for. And then we'll click on search for offering. And then I'll type in the name of like, for example, my sandbox, if I'm bringing this into my live course, whatever course it is I want to bring stuff in from. And then I'll select that. And then it's going to ask me, do I want to copy all of the components? So like if you bring in your, let's say I'm in my live site right now, and I've gotten everything prepped in my sandbox. It's beautiful. I want to bring the whole shebang over. I would just say copy all components. But let's say I'm in my sandbox and I'm wanting to grab just a few things from my reference site, like just the quizzes or something. Then I would say select components. And then it gives me a list of all the types of things I have in that site. And so this is like in Lalima, we used to be able to grab categories of things, but like, you know, if we wanted the lessons, we had to bring over all the lessons, but we didn't have to bring over everything if we only wanted the lessons. But this, it really gets to like a really fine grain size. So if I say I want my content, I could tell it even further that I want to select individual items to copy. And then hit continue, and then it will show me all of my content, and I can open that up and say, oh, that's right. Under structure, the structure module, I really just want this particular page. And then I can just bring in that one page. So you can decide whatever amount you want to bring in, and it doesn't overwrite the content that's already in there. So if I said, oh, I just want this one page, I could copy it, and then I think, shoot, I meant to grab that other page too. I can just go through the same process and grab it. It won't wipe everything out.
How long do you have a reference page?
The reference site, so this is why they say build in your sandbox, because those will go away by summer. Yeah, summer 2025. No, that's a different date. But just summer, sorry, just summer. But that's why, yeah, just think of those as kind of like a preview to shop from, and then anything you want, just bring that into your sandbox. Yeah, because your sandboxes will linger around. Eventually, right now we all have 5. Eventually they'll scale that back. But they'll give you a heads up, and you can always like grab stuff and kind of hoard it in your sandbox
each time, so we can make
No, eventually there'll probably be a process where you can request sandboxes, but for now, since we all have at least 5 or could request up to 5, it's just it's just that though you can keep them for a while. Yeah.
Once we move it from Lalima to the sandbox, the Lalima, does this disappear? I mean, just immediately disappear, or does it just?
No, you mean, so if you have it migrated from Lalima, no, it's just like making a copy. Yeah, it's not like, oh, you brought it over and it's gone from there. Yeah. Guys, this is a good question. Because migration kind of implies that it's moving. Yeah, but it's really just making a copy. Yeah. Yeah, right. Exactly.
For the sandbox right now, like open, but we don't have a CRN. Even though it's live and nobody will see it, right?
No students will ever be added to your sandbox. Yeah. But keep developing in there. Like you'll just move it on over. Yeah.
So say like student the nursing orientation, she can go ahead and have everything migrated from Lalima. But say Logan and I were teaching IS classes in fall 2025, we can't do the Lalima migration.
Yeah, not until, you can, but not until later. Because right now they're only migrating.
Yes, sir. We teach that we can get it migrated now because we're not teaching them in spring.
And then in fall, but in usually like
Summer.
Worst.
We are teaching Lima and Lamaku Training.
Well, no, but we're
This
not.
is-
Because
this is
we're teaching.
fall, But this is summer. Or I mean,
No, summer. Logan was done.
First grade.
We're not teaching in the spring.
I remember students that are gonna be hopeful, right?
Depending on the teacher.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was more worried for our IS 120 and IS 140.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But we can't do it until summer.
Until summer, yeah.
What you can do is, because you can't migrate, because it's just, the pipeline will get clogged. That's why they have to prioritize. But you can get sandboxes, and you can, if you want to get the course framework and put that in and start organizing things, and then copy pasting text type stuff and building. That's what a lot of pilot faculty did, because they didn't want to wait for the migration, and the migration wasn't going as well at that point, like they really made it better. So you can build, I mean, from scratch, but you can always reference that Lalima content and start building if you want.
So you already have like all of your materials you can go right.
Exactly, yeah, totally. And I would definitely, I mean, if you really want to, and you have the time, I would just start, I would bring in, you know, the course framework and then just start building from your content in Google Drive and like, yeah, you'll be good to go.
And it's just to make sure, and it is normal not to be able to import, export, or copy a non-instructional site because it's not January yet. I'm trying to import from Lalima and it's not finding the Lalima.
Oh, right, so the import export copy is only Lamaku to Lamaku. The
Oh,
migrate, yeah, the migrate is, the ITF has to migrate it over, yeah.
So we have to request.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Once they do, that's the only jump that we all can't make. We can't jump Lalima to Lamaku. But once they jump it for us, we can take that content and copy it wherever we want in Lamaku. Yeah.
So then the request side.
Yeah.
Like the next day.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Michelle.
Yeah, I can't do anything, so I thought, I'm doing all. But, so they migrated the title, you know, but I mean, see, I think, okay, that's the Lamaku, this is the Lalima. And I was trying to go here, but you clarified I have to put in a request, but what I did, I didn't put in a request because it's got. And that's.
How you get into
Okay.
So we might kind of finish up with a few of these, but just to kind of save our poor people who are listening or
watching
watching
the
the
video
video later, we'll just kind of close out. Again, everybody's gonna get this sheet, so you'll have references. There's some things we didn't even get to today, and that's okay. But there's links in here.
But the
But the
biggest
takeaway
is,
is,
you know, whether you're using this
this
or not, just reach out to me and Yoshi if you have any questions.
We will do the best we can to help answer your question, but if we don't know the answer, we will go looking for the answer and get it for you. Because it's something that we need to know anyways, you know, other people will have the same question. So, yeah, do you have anything else to add to that part? Yeah, feel free. And we can always also, like we said, if you add us as an instructor to your site, we can help you troubleshoot. That helps us because it's really hard to describe what's going on in your site, you know, via text message or, you know, in an email. So if you add us in there, we can go in and we can look, and then we can even make a video to say, oh, this is where I went and I click, and then you can do this and that, and then you can get kind of like a custom tutorial that way too. So now we'll just open up to questions, but thank you to the viewers at home. And have a great week.